I make this video for those of you who might want to use code by Zapier, but don't know how to write code. For instance, it could happen if you have some advanced formatting step to do, which the Zapier formatter can't solve. And maybe ChatGPT would have given you the code, copy paste in a code by Zapier step, but you wouldn't actually know what's inside this code. In some cases, it could happen. And in this case, is one thing that you might want to know how to do, but that ChatGPT might not do for you, would be how to include input data in this code. So we're going to see that really quick, how it works to input some dynamic data into a code by Zapier step. So for this example, we're going to take a Python step, but it works very similar in the JavaScript cases. So you might have been confused by the fact that you can't directly map previous data in the code part of the builder. So you would have to use every time the input data part. So first of all, on the left-hand part, you would have to give a name, whatever name you would like, to this data that you are mapping. So for instance, I'll put mapped data. In general, I recommend not to let spaces in here. You technically could, but it's better for organization, avoiding small bugs that might confuse you later down the line. So that's the name that I chose for my value, and here on the right part, I'll be able to actually map a previous step value. So there it is. I can map it, or I can write whatever I want statically. That also works. So that's it. I guess you already had that part, but now we are going to map it, like we're going to reference it in the actual code. So that's how we do it. You write input underscore data, brackets, and quote marks. And within the quote marks, you're just going to copy paste or rewrite the exact name of your input data. So now this that I just wrote is going to be equal this 10 value that I mapped above, and now I'll be able to use it in my code. So there it is. For instance, if I just change the return, like the output dictionary, into result is going to be the name, and the value is going to be the same as my input data. Here we should have the value 10. Okay, great, it worked. We see result, that's the name I gave it, and it just copies the name 10, which means our code correctly interpreted our input data right here. So that's how you can use it. You would just do input data brackets quote marks with the name here, and use it however, in this case, ChatGPT would told you to use it in your code. And I might tell you last thing, mapped input data here in Zapier is always interpreted as a string, which in our case, that's why I chose a number actually, means that 10 here would not be interpreted by the code step as the number 10. It would be interpreted as text saying 10. And this can have an impact when you want to use it in some mathematical operation. So for instance, I'll just do my result equals, and we want to write a very simple function that will just add 3 to to our input data. So in this case, I'll just change the final output to return whatever my results will be. So here we have our input data, which is 10 plus 3. It should return 13, except this is going to hit an error because the input data is interpreted as a string. So we cannot aggregate a string with an integer number. So in this specific case, we would have to first reformat it as an integer before adding 3. And in this case, we would be getting 13 this time it works. So that's an example for integers, but it's the same for lists. If here you're mapping a list from a previous step, you would have to first break it again into a list before using it in your code, because otherwise it's going to simply be interpreted as a long string with a lot of commas, but not as a list object itself. So that's how it is. The way to use a dynamic variable here is input underscore data, brackets, quote marks, and the name that you will have chosen here on the left. Thank you.